what is the situation here? I'm just going to come over to here. This is Dave Chesney. He is from Bowling Green, Greensboro, North Carolina. He is a ferry pilot that we had. And so it was the middle of December, and it had snowed terribly everywhere, and I was trying to plan to get down there and then fly the 3 hours with him and get my time in. But it was never going to work out. It was just such lousy weather, both for going to Bowling Green and coming back. So, no, this is December of 2018. And that was the year that Galesburg from the interstate was frozen and shut down for 3 days from Galesburg to the Quad Cities because of the freezing rains. So anyways, this is Dave. We got to know him pretty well. He stayed overnight, and then Beth and I got to know him really well. And then I tried to make a video for him of what was going on the year later, and found out he passed away. So 11 months after he was there, Dave, he's now gone. So and I couldn't get a hold of his son or anything. So it's kind of ironic. The guy had been flying for all his life, and we were like one of the last few ones. And he was an instructor and flew people all over the world. So anyways, this is Dave bringing it in. It was after sunset, kind of a lousy day and he just popped out, and there he is. So that's how it got to Davenport. I wanted to get some experience doing that, but it didn't work out. So we bought it in March, or bought it in December, and then the annual is going to be due in March. I had gotten my training through Diane over at Kewanee. So I got my hours in so I could fly it for the insurance purpose. But so we're in there for an annual, and Matt says to me, "John, she's making metal." And so I go over and look at that filter, and sure enough, well, there's a lot of it in there too. And so we decided at that point, instead of trying to fix on something or button it up for another oil filter, then we'd go ahead and get the engine overhauled. So that's as it sits at Carver. Anyone have any questions? Go ahead. So, Jim?
Did they determine where it was making metal at?
No.
Just making metal.
At that point, I was already convinced I wanted a different engine once we got it, because we'd already banked on, we bought it minus that. So, yeah.
What engine's in there?
Excuse me?
What was the engine?
It's a Lycoming 180. It's the dual mag like
0360?
yeah. I've got that in the next slide, by the way. So here it is. 0360 1AF6D. So that's got the huge dual on the one cam that it follows all the time. So this is, as you can see, this thing had been taken apart once or twice. A lot of sealant on that seam, and from what they're talking about, that happens often. People try to seal it up after they split it open, and it was leaking around the cylinders down here too. So, no, Jim, we never did get into that. I wasn't going to fly. I'd flown enough times that I wasn't comfortable with it, and it did some sputtering, and when I called the fellow that he was the broker of it, his name was Guy Maurer. Yeah, Guy Maurer. He's been in Cardinals all his life, and he's part of the CFO Society. And he said, you're flying on something that's it's beyond 2,700 hours on it, and you're not feeling right with it, and it's doing some things that we can't explain. So just spend the money and do it and be done with that motor. So that was kind of the rationale. So it's on the hook here. We're about ready to send it out to Poplar Grove, and so this is just how many people have been to Poplar Grove, to the airport? Okay, so this is all old hat. I could have shaved off a couple hours if I would have known these things. So, so you've all met Steve. Y'all know him? And then have you seen his wife Tina and that? So, okay. So I just thought for whoever's not been there then, this is the lay of the land there. It's a nice airport. And so we went there on March 22nd. They had received the motor in. It had been shipped from Carver. And this happens to be Beth's birthday, March 22nd. And so we said, Beth, for your birthday, how about if we go see how our motor's can be worked on? And Beth is all thumbs up, like everything else. And actually, she and I drove down to Bowling Green twice, a week apart, and went through all that adventure. And she's been in it 100% every time. So it's I'm astounded. So here we are. And now you've all then seen this because you've been to Poplar Grove. But just to let you know, this is the entrance over here. The engine work is done over here, and then we're going to get over here into this, or maybe it's over here, or over here. One of these, no, this is it. Here, we walk straight across. This is where he's got his Wacos over there. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but we'll see that. So, and then this engine shop over here, this is for radials, and especially ones. And this over here is a run-in dyno cell that's sticking out the back side of there. So that's the front lobby, as you can see. Steve Thomas with his family. A lot of these are family members that are in here, and you know, they've got dogs everywhere. And I just thought, well, that's pretty cute because that little puppy he barely knows the family, but he's just one of the hanger dogs now with him that's running around the shop. We got there on that day, and they had a buffet line running up and down there. They said, "Oh, go help yourself." It was what's the 22nd? Was that near? What's the St. Patrick's Day or something? They had something for it, but
Birthday buffet.
very.
Birthday buffet.
It could be.
Happy birthday.
Anyways, but you know, they're more than just a repair shop. They've also got all these parts. They're a big distributor of parts from there. You can call up and get them shipped to you. So, and then this is the other part of the lobby here. He's got this little display case of memorable parts that they've come upon. And here's this. You can see how this cam has been worn down to next to nothing out of that. Here's some followers that have been beat to a pulp. But I'm sure these came out of your motors, so no big surprise. Okay, so now we're getting into it. So this is just our intro. Steve to the right, engine assembly supervisor over there, and this is my beautiful wife Beth for her birthday. So this is how the motors are received in. We are here, and they've got all these other ones to get to, and I don't know at this time what pecking order we're at, but I knew it was going to be longer than just what it was. So this is how they come in the door. They get assigned a work order number, and that's what then starts the tracking of that coming in. So here's ours from Carver, and work order 56.
Hey, John, I got a question. It says from Carver, say if you pull the engine yourself, can you send it to them, or do you have to go through an FBO to send it to them?
I'm pretty sure you can send it to them.
Can you?
Yeah, you just put it in your pickup truck and drive it, or
Oh, okay.
Worked for me.
Did it?
You can ship
Yeah.
it to them.
yeah.
You ship it to them?
Or they'll come and get it.
Okay.
In that instance, they drove down to Carver, picked it up, and drove it back, and they've got it.
Or they'll come down to your hangar and pick it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
they've got it kind of set up where it's I guess secured, you know, either in a coverall, and it's whatever skid, so it doesn't slide around inside and whatnot. So Jim's got experience doing all that too. Have you known Steve Thomas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Tina,
Yeah.
she drives that big Waco
Mm-hmm.
by herself.
Mm-hmm. She also runs the air school of that. So
Dave Mittock still there?
Yes.
He's still there?
Matter of fact, he didn't get in the pictures, but I did talk to him a number of times.
He was the head of the shop when I used to go there.
Now, mind you, it's been a year and a half since I've been there. That title, that guy might have had something else, but I knew he wasn't Dave. So, okay, so this is just the general lay of the land on how the work cells are. You know, this work in process. He might be building some cylinders right now. I'm not sure, but so I'll just give you the lay of the land, and I can't describe completely what it is. That's just the overall assembly. When they get to a point of completion, or it's going to be in a dwell time waiting for a part to be brought in elsewhere, let's say they needed another part by another, they'll put a bag over it so it keeps dust and everything off of the product they've got so far done. And so when you see all these in the picture, that is all work in process, or maybe they're completed and they're ready to be gone through the cells to be assembled. Just some photographs of stations where they do some of the cleaning. You know, the one thing that struck me is that, you know, taking motor apart is kind of like it's a CSI event, if you would, where you learn the failure or the characteristic of the motor by looking at it in the greased state, what was going on, you know, the dirtiness of it, that all leads to a conclusion eventually. So they photograph and make notes of things before they take it apart. And then now here it's being taken apart and going through degreasing stations and separating them out. And here's, you know, just some of these things. They got a whole crankcase housing in there, and you guys have seen all these. I'm just talking to talk, so Adam's got to have something on this machine. So more work in process. All these cylinders, they've been taken off, and they look like they need to be disassembled somewhere. But you can see in the carts they've got numbers that track everything. They also do zyg. And just more of the assembly area. And Beth is asking in her mind, am I still there, or am I hung up taking more pictures elsewhere, or why are you taking all these pictures? So, but
Do they do their own work on the cases, or do they send the cases out?
they do work on cases, but they send out as well. Actually, we'll see we'll get into a photo that we can see who they get some parts from as well. So this is this is a row of work cells here where they do the actual assembly, and then they've got some of the adjacent machinery, the different presses on that side. I think they do some subs over there, but the way it was described is that the entire engine assembly is done in one cell by the one person. And there's at least 6 cells, and there's another building that we didn't get into as well. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Also notice the parts back here with more in process or waiting for something to go on, or maybe they're ready to go into the build cells. This is just, he wanted to show me that the extent of why they've got the bags on it. These are all the collections from the various, maybe they were ones that, you know, they build to new limits. So the parts, whatever they have measured, then they have to have them brought in or worked on themselves there. But these are all the collections of the parts, and they keep track of the state of completeness. So by the time they get everything, then they know that bin is going to be complete. He's got, looks like some baffle plates inside there for inner cylinder. So everything was very orderly. They're not a hodgepodge of anything. Everyone kept their work cells that looked that orderly. You know, set it up. And Steve, he was very Yeah, I was kind of honored I was honored. The president of the company, he met us and he said, well, I'm going to take you on the tour, because he knew that we were coming, or somebody did, Dave Middock. And so it ended up being that Steve was there, and so he's given us his personal tour the whole round. And so he takes the time and shows me how taking the two ends of the piston and how that bearing fits around for that. And, and it was very detailed, and it was a blessed visit that we had there with that. So this is one of the young men there. He's a mechanic, and looks like he's doing he has a partial assembly of a head, and then he's got more components that are I thought I had that as those little bits and pieces that go along with those valves going in there. You guys would all know what that is, but so this would be the start, having the crankshaft down into that one center point there, and it all gets built around that. This guy, I think he's putting some lubricants down on some mating parts before he puts the second half on in preparation for it. A lot of this part right here was discussing on putting on how to apply the silk thread between the halves. And what sticks in my memory is that they put in 2 threads of silk instead of the standard 1. And there must be some little tack that they put down that allows that to stick there. I don't remember that, but Greg, you were nodding your head on two silks.
Yeah, that's the way I put mine together.
Okay.
I didn't trust these guys. That guy there likes my fruitcake, by the way.
All right. So
The 2 halves of the case are kept from leaking. They put silk thread on the case, and at that shop they put 2 silk threads on each side instead of one. The Lycoming gasket kit comes with 1 instead of silk.
yeah. Okay. So this is a completed engine there. There was a customer there that was looking at that just before that. So, and then they do run each one and mate up the parts before they ship it out to you. And this one is completed, and you can see they've got it plumbed up so that it will go into the dyno station. That's just the back view showing some of those. And then here we are in it. And Steve said that they had developed this system. I think they had all the components or knew what they needed. They were savvy enough to put it all together as well. So it's kind of obvious. I don't have a photo of this, but this is the cradle where it would normally be sitting in. That's the cooling hood. You can see that this drops down here, and I'm not sure if it pulls or sucks. And then this is the wires and the equipment. You can see the different sensors that go into the engine anyway, so they place them in that, and as they run it, then they monitor and see that it still has the proper temperatures and oil pressures and whatever you would see on your motor, and there's probably some electrical output as well.
John, it's broken in there.
Yes.
Okay.
It was explained they run it from an hour to 3 hours.
Okay.
And I don't think that our motor, it would use a 1/10 per hour of oil, maybe a little bit more, and now it's down to a 1/10 per hour.
Really?
1/10 of a quart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so we now are off the mineral oil and into the multiviscosity now. So anyways, you can see the exhaust that runs up through that, and then this is the intake here, and so being that it's insulated, I think they've got a preheater in this, so it's got a constant temperature. So, you know, depending if it's hot outside or cold outside, at least for their numbers and their recordings of this, that they have the same, let's say it's, you know, they can't be at standard atmosphere, but at least they've got a standard temperature. And then this, I grabbed this photo off of their site too. That's just what they look like, I suppose, when they're running the motor in. So now we're back at Carver, and Matt's been waiting for the motor to be done. He's got it, he's painted up the mount, and he's got everything pulled off of what he could do, and the annual's kind of gone along with that pretty closely. I guess one of the things that we had done was the nose strut needed to be rebuilt. That thing had been leaking from day one that we had, and so we redid that, and it's held all year so far. So.
How long was it at top of the roof, John?
Well, so let's say March, April, May, 3.5 months. If we would have gotten there in January, we would have been pretty much on a 6-week turn or 4, but it languished on. So just some of the things during the annual that we did, there was you know, the pre-buy inspection. We had a fella from the Cardinal Flyers online organization, Keith Peterson. He met us in Bowling Green, went through. He has a Cardinal RG, and he's one of the part of the leaders of the group, and so he's seen enough of these Cardinals that he knows what's wrong through the fleet. And we went through it, had a squawk list, and we used his list that he gave us on what could be done, what should be done soon, what not, with the photos on it, and Matt followed that. And so we went through it with those repairs and what to look for. One thing was the flap indicator cable was they embrittle the casing. And I happen to bring that with. The outer casing gets brittle. It's just a bulk item from Cessna when they're putting it together. And so without that casing on it, there was a possibility of that shifting back and forth and not indicating properly, or driving. That the way the Cessna does it is that it actually pushes a switch, and so you could have where the flaps only go, you know, to 20 degrees, and that keeps the timing between both left and right. So that was a major thing to be done. So they did the spar inspections. That had just come in with this. There's a one from that pipeline inspection aircraft. I don't remember what it was, a 210 or 2. Anyways, so there was an 80 for that, and then also some of the other things, like got rid of the old wing vent tubing and got silicone in it, and that was brittled up, and so it starts to break down, and you can't get at it. It was hard to pull out, but so.
Going back to one, John, they put painting the engine mount in black.
Yeah.
That, it's harder to see cracks in it, so now they're using more of a white or a gray. So if it does crack,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to detect.
Mhm.
That's something fairly recent.
Mm-hmm.
I know the mechanic on the field there at Boscoville was showing me through it, some stuff that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes sense,
Yeah.
really. Why try to hide it in flat black?
Yeah.
So I don't know how many guys are in the process of, working on the engine mount or anything. But
Yeah.
better idea to paint a lighter color.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Now when you go to look at it, that's okay.
Well, you know, taking that cowl off is a pain in the neck. That I didn't realize it was going to be that much of a pain in the neck. So
Did you do an owner assist annual with Matt?
no,
No?
no,
I don't know if they do that or not.
no, I don't. Carver doesn't do that.
No, Carver
no.
don't do that. They charge you more if you got a,
Yeah, it could be. Maybe, I wonder if this is a trivia thing. Does everyone know what that is? That's the stall horn.
oh,
It's just like a bicycle reed, and it's right up here by your head. And so when you go to check that out, you suck on it out through the screen, and you just hear the thing squawking. And it's essentially, it's a little kid's air horn. And you can see the bell shape for it too. So your head is kind of right here. So there it is, back together. And the other things that we added added a JPI 830 engine monitor with it. So that's why it's got some extra wires hanging off it there. So, and then it's also got a reef engine heater stuck to it.
Did they keep the same dual mag?
That was a overhauled different one. Yeah. So the entire thing gets taken apart, and you ship them all their things, and then they rebuild it all and stick it and put it back together. So we also had had the propeller overhauled, and they were able to redress the propeller as well. So, and let's see, also the oil cooler, we had that flushed. There's things. So anyways, now we're back. This is, Steve took Beth and I back into the area that they refurbished their planes, and this is his personal shop, I see, because I looked up the numbers, and they are, well, they're registered to Poplar Grove or Air Motive. I didn't get a shot on the inside of the cabin of this, but this Super Ace, by the way, there's a nice article written in General Aviation News about one of the mechanics that went there, works there. He flew it from Broadhead to the aviation antique field down here in Iowa, and it hadn't flown that. I guess it's a rare airplane, really. So, but it was built in 1984, and if you go to that link, you can see the history of what that plane was, and then Steve bought it and got it to this state. They found this Model B Ford engine and put it in it. So, and he's got that Waco. Jim, what year is yours?
42.
You know, it's amazing aviation that was growing up just with during World War I and World War II. You know, how things came and ebbed and flowed and continued on, and well, you'd never know they keep on going that way. Kind of striking. He's got the radio set down over here. You know, got this nice loom of wires that he's run through there. Not like it was back in the day. So, and that's the back cockpit. Or the front. Was it the front and back? That's probably the front then, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, that's the back, no controls.
Okay. And then 31 Waco. And I'm just going by the FAA designation of a QCF. Not sure what that.
What's that?
The FAA designation of this of a QCF-2, that as a model number.
Each one of those letters, the Q and the C and the F means something, and the -2 means it's like the second version
Mm-hmm.
of that. And the front number is usually the engine, and the second number is the airframe, and the third number I can't answer, third letter I should say.
Yeah.
But I got a book at home that explains all of it, and there's a letter for every, there's a reason for every letter on every Waco.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of it was if 7 engines came in the back door, the next 7 airplanes got that engine.
Mm-hmm.
And then they may have to come up with a new designation, a set of numbers.
Okay.
They,
Like tracking revision states on that.
well,
So.
they've got a
Yeah.
lot of airplanes out the door.
Oh yeah. Well, so he was refurbishing the wing fabric on this one. You sit upright in this one a lot more. It appears to be. So here he's taking the time to show us. He's using polyfiber medium 2 on that. And showing Beth on how the stitching process is and going through that. He really gave us a class tour, so. And you know, when I see all these things in that room like that, it just dawned on me, you know, a person's legacy that he's been doing this since 1975, and then all these things that he saved, and it's his passion and the family and all that, you know, once he passes on, you know, somebody's got to clean that up. And it's just, and that'd be a shame, but you know, that's just the way it is, you know. But he's got some neat things there. And then this is his dad. I don't know if you see it. We also went up to the office area that not much traffic goes, and I took some photos, and that's a photo of his dad and John Strom. I think they were the neighbor farmer of that. This is 2 farms put together, dairy farms, and that's where Steve came from, was the background farming. And he, I guess he liked the thought of airplanes more than milking cows and manure. So so in 1972 they got this done. So. And that is the end of that. Ta-da.